Right, let's get this ready. I've recently acquired Gazelle. Was it JRX Labs or something like that? And can't really fly a helicopter in X-plane. So why not just give it a try? Now, I do have some prior experience in that I bought this V-Sky Labs Capri, real nice Italian helicopter. And I mean, what am I doing? Gonna choose middle wallop. Right. Yeah, I've had this V-Sky Labs Capri for a while, which has been really cool. But I still can't fly a helicopter. I mean, really, with the Capri, I could get the helicopter flying just by jacking the cyclic straight up, and you know, that's a hell of a lot of fun once you get it going forward. But I have no control over it, so well, let's just go straight in at the deep end at Army Air Corps Middle Wallop in basically the Gazelle, which was an Army Air Corps helicopter, at least back in the day. Okay, this is one thing I've noticed with this. I have had a little go of it, and you know, even though I start with the engine, let me get my view straightened up. Even though I start with the engine on, just to make it a little bit easier, it kind of powers down, but it's okay. We should be able to get it restarted pretty quickly. Now, yeah, Middle Wallop, home of the Army Air Corps, and this beautiful red Royal Air Force. I used to have a little model, a Majorette brand model of this exact helicopter when I was younger. I used to love playing with it. One of the rotors came off, but that was kind of fine because, well, you could actually turn the rotors in on themselves for storing and store them along the fuselage. So, you know, really I could pretend it was just had 2 blades on it rather than 3 just by rotating the blades around. Kind of funny, really. Let's get back in and let's turn that mouse on because it's a lot easier to fiddle with this when you've got a mouse. First of all, let's get some power to it. I do like to tune this throttle with my VR controls. You see how it gives me a little bit of green where to put that in, and I've just found it easier to start off like this. But that's about as much as I know about this aircraft, other than the fact that I really can't fly it. See if it will start now. The real question is, do I get the rotor spinning? Yes, I do. That's good. Now watch this turn into some horrific crash. Almost like a childhood dream, this. Whoa. Whoa, 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 whoa. That is, I didn't even press any controls there. See if I can just put it down by lowering the collective. It just actually revved that up. It must have thought I had the collective actually on a little bit. Maybe it could be this throttle setting. Let's look at it. Don't want that throttle setting too high. You keep that in a fixed position on a helicopter. The only reason I know about that is because I was watching someone, a video of someone flying this last night, and they were messing around with the red button, which is you see it says rotor brake. I haven't been able to move that even in the VR mode. And, you know, that guy fiddled with the throttle a lot. But once you've got the throttle down, you know, you can just fiddle with the collective. There briefly came up the rotor pedals, rudder pedals, I call them, being aircraft pilot. And let's just see how I do, because I can't land this thing. I mean, just by putting in a little bit of right rudder into this and bringing collective up, I can take off. And I can actually get into a cruise. But that's about it. I mean, helicopters are much easier once they're in level forward flight. I can't hover, I can't really land. Let's just see how I do. Okay, so yeah, not exactly my first time, but more or less. And frankly, only because I've done a little bit of practice in the Cabri earlier, just to get a better feel. But this is an entirely different turbine helicopter that I can easily over-torque and blow up. So let's just see. And I may end up going back to the Cabri. So I'm just bringing the collective up, you can see now. And I am just putting a bit of right rudder in. You see it turn into the left. I'm more or less flying. I'm going to lean forward a little bit. Now the only reason I more or less flew forward then is because I put the front down. If I take the rudder off now, you see you see I'm spinning around. I actually do need to put that rudder back on to centralize it. There you go, look. Constant spinning, rudder back on, and bring it to a stop. So, you know, it really is this constant balancing act of controls, and I do kind of get what it takes to control a helicopter. I've always had that ability to do the equivalent of, you know, scratching your head, rubbing your belly, whatever crap that is. I can't do it in real life, but I've always vaguely just understood, you know, different axes with rudder pedals and things like that, and that's certainly made it easier for me to just think about what I need to do to fly this helicopter. Also, you know, just being a fixed wing pilot, I also know I need to use the rudder on takeoff anyway. You know, it's a natural thing to do, just to put a bit of rudder in for me and correct it. Now again, if I take this rudder off, because I'm flying forward a little bit, I'm actually using no rudder now. I'm maintaining some forward momentum, but the aircraft will rotate if I let it. So I can actually trim it off. Rotate kind of left and right. So I'll trim it off. It's now rolling to the right, should I say. Trim it a bit to the left. That's better. So it's becoming stable. It is pitching nose up a bit, and actually trim that down and get that a bit more stable. So I'm actually flying hands off now. So, you know, for me, I can get a helicopter into a slightly more stable mode, even as someone who really doesn't know anything about helicopters. Excuse me. Now, yeah, let's have a look, because this is pretty much the home of Army Air Corps helicopters. This is where all the training happened in the Gazelle back in the day, middle wallop. The Gazelle's no longer used by the British Army, but it was their training helicopter for some time. You see the grass strips. I actually watched a mid-90s program. You can find the whole series on YouTube about the Army's training program for this. I watched it back in the day, and I found it on YouTube about 3 months ago and watched the whole thing. And I do remember them flying RAF Chipmunks tailwheel aircraft off of the grass strips. That's almost the first thing they got the students to do, was learn how to fly fixed wing. And I always remember some students struggling with that, but when I rewatched it, he certainly seemed to be struggling a little bit less. Let's have a look at my frame rate. Could be higher. You know, this is one of the things in VR. I often detune the graphics settings for my own personal enjoyment, just to smooth it out, but Videos kind of look crap when I set the settings down. Of course, the frame rate's 35. It's not bad, but I prefer it much smoother, especially for something as real as an aircraft. Anyway, they go on to basically learn in these Gazelles, just what I'm flying now. Let's see if we can just get a quick outside look. And I always thought the Gazelle was just a real beautiful looking helicopter. Absolutely stunning to look at, especially in this red livery that you've got. Now, you know, in the program they use the dark green military helicopters. I don't think there is a Army Air Corps version of that, but you know, the reason I came here is really because of this homage to this program, and in some ways, even though the Gazelle is French, this feels like the home of the Gazelle to me. And it also makes total sense because, well, there might be grass strips here, but look at that. There's helicopter pads all over the place. And there's another little hard runway here. And I have a feeling that they would fly the helicopters into this runway and halfway down kind of turn the helicopters in and fly them, you know, to this apron. You know, there are markings on that apron, as you can see, where each helicopter would park. So it really is made for the helicopters. I'm doing a terrible job of flying it. I mean, I'm just managing to fly it around. It's amazing how unstable these things are, but you know, they won't drop out of the sky just by kind of pointing it down and I guess spinning around. Anyway, let's see if I can land this thing. This is going to be a tragedy. Now, it is one of the hardest things, I think everyone who knows anything about aviation, to kind of hover a helicopter, to bring it to a hover and land it. So I'm not going to do that. I'm going to put that cyclic down a little bit, which should gradually decrease, I guess, my height. And I will start descending here. And let's just see. I can't see the damn helicopter landing pad. But the idea is I should be able to pitch back. Oh, there it is. I'm coming in way too fast. Yeah, I'm going to overshoot that then. Let's try for the next one over there. You see, I am actually coming down. I've got full right rudder on there, and then I'm going to kind of do a crappy flare. It's bloody hard. I've got the collective right down. I'm surprised this damn thing hasn't fallen out of the sky. I've still got plenty of right rudder in. See it start spinning again. I seem to have got it better trimmed off now. But now I've got it low and slow, maybe I might be able to get on one of those helicopter landing pads. So let me turn this around. If I put that collective down anymore, this thing's just going to drop out of the sky like a lead weight, I'm sure. I can see that landing pad. I would love to be able to fly straight to it and land on it, but if I end up kind of spinning around a bit and getting off course, as far as I'm concerned, just landing near it is a success. So I'm bringing the collective down anyway. You see me coming down. I do still want forward momentum, but I now want to flare. And I flared way too much. And it's still not dropping. Whoa, it's dropping now. It kind of gave up for the ghost there in terms of flying. Let me let me bring this back up. I mean, at least I'm vaguely controlling it in a controlled manner. I mean, may not look clever, but the inputs are getting me roughly in the right direction. Oh, look at that. Maybe I can do that hover landing from there. I'm well overcorrecting it. Well overcorrecting. Bit more collective. Oh shit, I pushed the collective the wrong way at the last minute, which is why I ended up going up at the last minute and then kind of banging onto the ground when I put it back down. That's actually not bad for a rank emitter. Now, I'm using CH Products yoke for this. I have reversed one of my levers so it kind of matches the fact that when I pull the lever towards me, it pulls the collective up. More wine please there. So really what happened there is I'm used to pushing forward to throttle for flying aircraft, so I just did that. Oh, that's my excuse anyway. Well, no one died, but I bet I can, of course I can damage this damn aircraft. Let's put a little bit of that rudder in, bring that collective up. So you need more rudder than that even, just to keep it straight. Bring more collective, take off. It amazes me that these people would take off from that helicopter landing pad. In fact, look, let's go and have a look what they would do, because you know, this, as I say, they do keep aircraft on this field, but only the purpose of, you know, little chipmunk aircraft. If you look at those circles down there on the apron, they would basically park those aircraft, the helicopters out there, maybe bring them out on some kind of dolly for the day, and then when they want to move them out, they'd start the helicopters up right in place on those circles and taxi along those lines, and you know, perhaps taxi out to, well, you can see it, the yellow line, yellow taxiing line. Look at it right here. That's if I can give you a good look. It actually leads just to that taxiway and the landing spot that I was just on. And of course, it also leads all the way to runway 26 if you want to go there. Is this another runway? No, it just looks like a kind of road, maybe a road, entry-exit road from... Oh no, it's still in the perimeter boundaries. That makes sense actually, because you can see the other grass strip along there. That's a bloody long grass strip. It really is. But yeah, if you can imagine, there's a couple of helicopters flying around here training all the time with students and instructors in. It's kind of a small airport when there's idiots like me at the controls, basically new people flying. Let's try this proper landing again. I want to do some shits and giggles. I do tend to ride with a bit of rudder on, so I've got to get out of that habit, because once I've got it in flight, I shouldn't need that rudder. Right, there's the landing spot. Really coming in too fast, I think. Again, let's see if I can arrest this. Yeah, way too fast. That's the trick to a good landing in an aircraft, is getting a good approach in. And helicopters are still aircraft. I'm sure if you've not got that approach, if you've not bled your speed up, it's just going to be the worst landing possible. And that's too much. That's what happens when you let the collective go a bit too low, and as I mentioned, it just drops out. Right, let's do. And let's keep it all the same. Let's keep it all the same. It'll load back. Oh. Oh, don't tell me I'm gonna have to restart the thing again. Come on, stop that. Add a little bit of the collective on then. So you see, actually, with none of the correction from the rotor controls, collective just spins it to the left. Let me take it off with just straight up and demonstrate that a bit more. I'll just try and keep it level. You can see it drifting there, but if I just put some collective in, it just rotates on its own. I have to then counter it with rudder, which I'm now doing. Of course, it's flying sideways because I didn't manage to keep it straight, but I can take the rudder off now, and it just does exactly the same. So you do need some rudder and some decent forward momentum to stop this. Quite interesting to just learn these things about helicopters, and it's actually really cool being in VR because I'm sure it just feels almost like the real thing. I'm a big fan of Flight Simulator VR. It certainly feels like the fixed wing to me, but yeah, these helicopters are very nice. You can just look around. The nice thing I like about this is I just tend to look left and right a lot more. I don't know what it is. Well, there's kind of a post in the way, but let's see if I can get down. You've got to bleed the speed off as you come into the approach, otherwise you just end up pitching up and flying up. Maybe I'll get some mastery on it. Just maybe. I obviously can't do it from a high speed, but then again, there's probably something to be said about flying a traffic pattern in a helicopter to kind of slow you down to a traffic pattern speed and do a proper approach. And I know nothing about that kind of thing in helicopter. Probably ought to read up on it and look it up. Let's give it a go. So I've got collective down. You should see me sinking. I'm going to try and arrest that forward speed just by bringing it back. And just not good enough, but definitely a better attempt. I feel as if I'm going to fall out of the sky now, so which I am. Just managed to get it balanced. But yeah, it's still dropping. You need to put quite a lot of that cyclic back in to arrest that. If it's not moving forward, it's generating less lift off those rotors. Basically, the rotors powering themselves rather than acting like a wing. So you really need to get that cyclic up to arrest that descent. And I think that's one of the challenges, really, of a hovering landing. Well, let's see. I've almost got this hovering landing here. Although that's only because I fucked up the other thing. See if I can plonk it down right in the middle of the H. Now I've got a lot of rudder. You see the rudder controls. And I'm trying to move that cyclic stick to kind of aim in the right place. Just kind of balance it. So don't feel as if I'm doing a good job with that. Well, let's face it, middle-ish of the landing target. But yeah, that's nothing to write home about. That's hardly that approach that I'm looking for. Let's try again. Let me put that right rotor in. I think helicopter instructors bollock fixed wing people for calling it the rudder, so I'll try and get out of that habit. Takeoffs aren't bad. They're certainly not Army Air Corps standard, but you know, I can get reasonably straight and then at least get going in the direction that I want. Take the rudder off and immediately it goes to the left there. I don't want to get too fast, I don't want to get too high, because I'm going to completely ruin this approach. And this is the funny thing, that the collective I've got would drop me out of the sky now if I was stationary. I had to put about double the amount of collective in as this to hover before. What an amazing aircraft to kind of have these different aerodynamic forces acting on it at all these different phases of flight. Oh, there's actually a helicopter pad there. Didn't see that one. Right, collectives down. So the rotors are acting like a wing. I've got almost no collective on. But look, I'm still actually floating. Let's just ride this. I have no collective, but I should be able to arrest my descent. Ooh, rough as buggery. Did I break it? Oh, it's on fire. Shit. Let's have a look at that. Wow. Well, I tell you what, let's switch it up here and oops. Let's try a beginner helicopter, a non-turbine that hopefully is a little bit easier for me to not blow up. And let's see how I do with that. Less powerful, less big, lighter. I think this is like the European equivalent of a Robinson. It's Italian made. I saw it cheap on Explain Store about 6 months ago and bought it. I quickly had a look at it. I've not really flew it since. Let me straighten my view, my VO view. I will. Let's have a look on the outside. That's a cute little helicopter. Sweet. Real sweet. Well, same controls, but I guess a bit more for the home person. Oh, ignore my VR controllers, by the way. I just kind of leave them there. They get a little bit irritating, but, you know, put them out of the way. Right. Someone did say European helicopters go to the left, see right rotor control, North American. That was the video I looked at. So this being European, it's the same. Now that actually takes quite a lot of collective before it even lifts off, and a lot less rotor. You can see actually, I expected it would spin more. That's probably because it's just a less powerful engine or something like that. I should stop sounding as if I know what I'm doing. But let's see if I can hover this down this runway. Grass strip, I should say. It's hardly a runway. It's very sensitive. As soon as I start moving forward, it actually begins ascending, just that extra lift coming in from rotors that are moving forward. I wonder if I dare. Now I'm slowing down, Notice how it goes down. I'm having to put the collective up to stop it from descending. And again, that's quite a lot of collective for at least where my thumbs feel on my CH Products yoke. Am I really doing kind of a hover? Well, let's see if I can take this from here. I've got some vague control on this. I don't want to go too far forward. I did pull back then on the cyclic, the stick in front of me, just to arrest it from going forward so much. That caused me to gain height. Let's see if I can get this in to my new favorite landing spot at Middle Wallop. So I am almost in the hover. In fact, I pretty much am in the hover. Bit of forward movement here and there. I'm actually going up more than I am forward. Well, that's because I'm messing around with that collective control. It's such a fine thing. Collective down, going down. Just want to ease a little bit in to arrest it. I don't want to go down just yet. I want to get dead in the middle of that H for helicopter if I can. Very interesting. Oh, 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 oh. Forward a little bit, and down. Let's have a look at that. Ooh. Now, that's not bad. And that's a hovered landing, which, well, the only reason I tried that was because I was already more or less in a hover when I started. I just thought I'd be a bit cheeky. Let's take the mouse pointer off, we don't need that. Right, reset my view, because I want to look straight forward. Now then, let's see if I can do some kind of circuit pattern and bring this in properly. You know, there's a reason why folk get trained in simpler helicopters first. They are simpler to fly. You get straight in a Gazelle, there's no wonder I blew it up. On the other hand, the Army Air Corps guys fly the Chipmunk and then they're straight in the Gazelle. How mad is that? I mean, they do have a fantastic Army instructor sat right next to them. I'm sure that stops them getting in the shit, but what a difficult environment for helicopter mastery is starting in a turbine. Okay, so I'm pulling the collective down and just trying to bleed off a little bit. That's too fast, too fast, too fast. Shit. I'm surprised I didn't roll that over. I was dropping too fast and moving too fast. So if I was dropping and moving forward too fast, I put the collective down a little bit too much, but didn't arrest the forward movement. I should have had more collective up and should have pulled back a little bit. I hope some fucker's watching who knows what they're doing and is having a good laugh right now. Let's try again. The question is, would I kill myself now? I've clearly killed 2 helicopters, but Not myself. And I tell you what finds real weird. I could get a helicopter private pilot's license just by doing, assuming I reach a good enough level, a standard to take the test. 15 hours of flight on top of the flight experience I've already got in fixed wing. And that to me seems a little bit nuts, because this is an entirely different thing. And you know, I'm just doing simple maneuvers around, traveling from A to B in a helicopter and then slowing it down, you know, doing that proper pattern work. Right, let's try this again. Now, I want to approach it at an angle, nice descent angle, of course. And I'm just rotating it around. I don't care if I'm not head on it, as long as I'm heading in a direction to it. I just had to put the collective in at the last minute on that. Although really, the only reason I put collective in is to try and reach the H. If I hadn't been trying to reach the H, maybe I could have finished that landing off properly, just off target. Maybe I ought to just try that, rather than try and be so accurate. First get the damn thing down anyway. Yeah, maybe that's a good idea. Teach yourself how to fly a helicopter. Well, it's a simulator, why not? Well, let's give it a try. I'm just going to aim somewhere down there, and I know I'm flying sideways a bit. I'm going to take that rotor control off. Imagine I was aiming at something, and I'm going to start bleeding off that speed now. I don't want to go up. That's a sign I'm coming in too fast. Bleed off more speed. Oh, just dropped it at last minute again. That's that perfect combination of just having enough forward movement into that flare and being just too high in the flare, or needing to put that extra collective on to arrest it. Crazy talk, crazy talk. I am getting there though. That feels like progress. I wonder if I should just go and have those 15 hours of flight lessons. In fact, I wonder if there's any advantage to trying to land along the grass strip. At least then I can get some kind of practice on the control. Is that another runway there? Like or another apron or something? There's some kind of apron. Certainly not a runway. Well, let's go into this. I love how they have a grass strip but paint the runway numbers on the bloody tarmac. Runway 8. It's like they got sick of repainting them on this strip every time it got mowed. Right, I've taken the rudder off now. Bit of correction. I really am going too fast, so I want to swap collective for pitch. Bring that collective up a little bit because I'm more or less coming into the hover. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Now, that would have probably still scared the shit out of my wife, but I'm actually quite impressed with that. Scared the shit out of my mother-in-law, at least, which, let's face it, that's what aircraft are for. Okay, maybe this is what people do when they practice helicopters, is learn to fly helicopters, is learn to land it somewhere along a strip and then eventually bring it onto one of these proper helicopter landing things. Landing pads, not things. I know the terminology for this. I can be so wet sometimes. There it is. Now I don't want to go down that fast. A bit more collective in. What's that bloody noise? Is it the blade slapping? See how I've started going up a bit now. More collective. I don't want to land yet. 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 I want to go forward a bit. The problem is I'm now in pretty much a hover landing, but at least I'm in control. I might as well continue with the exercise of getting it on the ground. Bit of forward movement. Forward movement. Come on, move forward. Let's just have a look. I know that's not as good as that other one that I did. But you know, that other one that I did was a full-on, let's just do it from the hover. Okay. Right, let's fly this thing just for a little while. See if I can get happily more stable in it. That's actually quite lovely once you get moving forward. You can lean it over and then put a little bit of rotor control in to turn it round so bang can turn. Level it off. I can push it forward to get more speed, which will cause me to go down. I can bring more collective in to stop it going down. Actually goes up. Oh, hear that blade slap. And I take it that number means I'm probably stressing it more than it should be. But yeah, it does have trim controls, this, so let's mess around with the trim. Naturally it's pitching up, so let's get it trim on pitch. More or less trim on pitch. You can see it's gradually rolling, so let's trim it left. Bit back to the right now. There, I'm hands off. Now if I go and press some control, it'll get all unstable on me again. It won't return itself to stable flight like an aircraft, a fixed wing aircraft. Helicopter's been naturally unstable, but it is actually quite pleasant just to do this and fly this around. It's actually pretty cool for virtual reality VFR flight because you're nice and slow and low to the ground. It's rather funky actually. A bit jittery there on the graphics frame rate. Ooh, I don't like that. Back up to middle wallop. Oh, there's the grass strip, look. So, I mean, of course, the other thing you've got to think about middle wallop is, given this is where they train the Army Air Corps, and I don't know what they use to train now, but, you know, they used to use the other Gazelle. But pretty much after this, people would go on to the Combat Lynx or the was it, the AH-64, which of course both the princes of the royal family did. They spent their time at this airfield learning to fly helicopters. I have a feeling that one of the princes at least was in another unit of the army first, the Blues and Royals, and then transferred, because Army Air Corps is actually quite hard to get into. Excuse me. And a lot of officers transfer in. They're looking for, you know, good service in other areas. Most of them, I think, are officers who transfer in. Some of them are what they call them, ensign. I can't remember what they call them. Basically squaddies, but they don't take many squaddies, from what I understand. Could be wrong about that. I certainly saw them on the program in the middle of the 90s. And I'm trying to think what the other prince was in unit before he transferred, but I find it very interesting. If you're a royal, somehow it's very easy to transfer into the Air Corps and get a job flying a combat helicopter. The younger royals served in Afghanistan, actually. They had all that hoo-ha about what happens if he's caught or shot down. But they sent him there. I think his first tour, it was mostly in secret. And he flew medevac support in a AH-64. I remember seeing a documentary on it. So he wasn't really in the combat flights, but he was protecting medevac flights with a combat helicopter, you know, to get people out of difficult places. They did ask him, have you killed anyone? Some deft interviewer asked that, and his response was, I've done the things that are required of the job. Something like that. It was a very polite way of saying, yes, I've gunned some Taliban folk down. Because I think they train everyone as pilots, but then you get assigned to be either a gunner or a pilot. And I think the younger one was actually a gunner. So I just put the collective the wrong way again, which is why I just pitched up and you heard the blade slap. But let's see if I can arrest this descent a bit more. Let's straighten it up. Well, flare, not much of a flare. That was actually looking quite good for a little while then, but I could see I was coming in too short in the end. I've really flared too late as well. Part of me was putting the collective back in to extend it to get on the H again, and really by that time I was past where I should have flared, but well, I assume I should have flared. I'm a bloody helicopter instructor, of course. Oh, this is fun, this little Cabri thing. It's so much easier than the Gazelle. It really is. Helicopters are fun when you can actually fly them. Right, let's aim for the distant H. So I do want my approach. I'm going to bleed off the airspeed. I bet this falls out of the sky any chuffing minute now. Yep. Oh, I managed to arrest it with the torque though, with the collective though, just. That wasn't bad. It just wasn't where I wanted to land. Now, as I've mentioned, this is really the first time I've tried to fly helicopters seriously. The only reason I might look as if I can fly a helicopter is because I have took these things off in X-Plane before and just put them into cruise, like I am now. And once they're in cruise, it's fairly straightforward just to enjoy them. You know, takeoff and landing, particular landing is hard. Never been able to do it. I can manage a takeoff just by putting the collective on and putting the cyclic control forward to tilt forward and get some speed. But really what you're seeing now, don't be fooled by it. It's not hard to do. And everything else is just beginner noob nonsense. Now, Middle Wallop is pretty much in the middle of Salisbury Plain, which is a massive area where the army trains in UK, you know, tank training, infantry training. They have abandoned villages and things like that that serve as, I guess, just scenery for everyone to run around, pretending, playing war games in, becoming a better soldier at. But I did see part of. Oh, that's crap. That's way too crap. And I'm almost out of bloody control now. At least I'm getting used to the collective and arresting it. No, I actually saw them once they got over the basic and more advanced flight training. They would take them using the Gazelles to do these forward spotting exercises for tanks where, you know, they would be out on Salisbury Plain and they would come to a hill or a set of trees like this and they'd hide behind the trees and then they'd just pop up, take some kind of measurement for a tank, and then pop down. I mean, the idea was not to expose yourself to the tank or to the artillery gun that could shoot you. You weren't supposed to make your presence known. But they'd use these cameras that were mounted above the rotors just to lift above the brow of the hill and do that. And, you know, that's got to take some skill because, you know, just like one of these little hills over here, you've got to approach it and you've got to practically bring it to a hover right before the hill. Let's try it. No, if I get this right, I'm not joining the army. The army is not giving me a job. But yeah, bringing it to a proper hover is hard. I'm only just managing to keep this off the ground just with the small collective inputs. But bringing it to a hover right there, bloody hell. And then what you've got to do is creep up the hill or creep into position very slowly and carefully, just so that forward-looking camera mounted above the rotor blades is peeking over the hill. And then you're looking around for that tank. You've got like a spotter in the left seat controlling the camera and looking around for that tank, and they get a fix on the tank. And of course, then what you do is, once you've got the fix on the tank, it's transmitting artillery coordinates to somewhere else, and the helicopter returns to wherever it came from. It probably ends up going out in some other direction, look for a tank. But it's amazing use of a helicopter to travel a few miles, get a fix for some other weapon, and then come back. It almost seems like a waste of a helicopter. You want to see a helicopter going in there, guns blazing and stuff like that, especially considering they're so expensive to operate and things like that. But it makes total sense as a strategy not to do that, right? To use the right tool for the job, tank or artillery from a distance, and use something that can cover that ground very rapidly, but then retreat like a helicopter. Balked already. Really coming too fast there. Ooh. I actually thought I was going to be able to arrest that with the collective. Obviously not. Let's get back into a Gazelle and see if my technique has improved at all. It has, but I'm not really sure it's where it needs to be for a Gazelle. Oh, come on then, load. It is loading. It just takes a little while. Right, here we go. Reset that viewpoint again. Right, the helicopter's once again powering down. Oops. Trying to get my mouse on the screen, groping around for my mouse. Let's put that. This is always in the wrong place. Oh, actually it weren't. And these damn controls are so sensitive to getting the arrow. Oh, that's annoying. Especially considering I had it once and then put it to the ignition mode. Let's put the alternator on anyway. Right. Wait for the up arrow, wait for the up arrow, wait for the up arrow. Right, that's starting it. Right, well that's starting up. I'll reset the view again. To my seated position, I am looking forward now. Now I'm aligned. Now the helicopter's running. I can put it into run mode. Whoa. I didn't think I had any cyclic on, but obviously I did. Right. Maybe I'll try these exercises now where I just try and land on the grass strip. Instantly, it just feels a whole lot more complicated to do. Feels heavier, feels less stable. But let's give it a go. And of course, it'd be nice to land on the grass strip. Now this flies faster as well, so it's actually very hard to land it without going up, without ascending. Why am I punishing myself like this? This is actually feeling like hard work now. It really is. Maybe I ought to swap over to a chipmunk and fly that off the grass strip. Well, either way, I think I am probably going to call it a night there, at least for the purpose of this video. I think an hour of messing around has been fun, And, well, maybe I've proven I'm slightly improved at a helicopter. Let's see where it goes, perhaps in another lesson. Thanks a lot.